You've probably heard this one before. If an alligator starts chasing you, run in a zigzag. The idea is that alligators are supposedly terrible at turning, so if you keep changing directions, they'll get confused and eventually give up. Sounds pretty smart. There's just one problem. You're also making yourself slower. Alligators can move surprisingly fast over short distances on land, but they usually aren't interested in chasing humans for long stretches. If you somehow find yourself too close to one and need to get away, wildlife experts generally recommend moving away quickly in a straight line and putting as much distance between you and the animal as possible. Running left, right just wastes time and energy. And no, an alligator does not suddenly become helpless because you change direction. This myth probably survived because it sounds believable. Alligators have long bodies, short legs, and they don't exactly look like Olympic sprinters. So someone hears the advice once, repeats it to someone else, and eventually it becomes one of those facts everybody seems to know without anybody remembering where it came from. The good news is that alligators generally don't hunt people by sprinting after them across open ground. But if one ever does come after you, don't turn it into a football drill. Just get away from it. This is one of the most persistent health myths on the internet. The idea that vaccines cause autism became especially famous after a 1998 paper suggested a possible connection between the MMR vaccine and autism. But there was a major problem. The study involved only 12 children, and serious issues were later found with how the research was conducted and reported. The paper was eventually retracted, and its lead author, Andrew Wakefield, lost his medical license in the UK. Since then, researchers have studied this question again and again, including studies involving hundreds of thousands of children. And the result has stayed the same. There is no credible evidence that vaccines cause autism. So why does the myth survive? Because scary stories spread faster than boring statistics. A parent saying, "This happened after my child got vaccinated," feels emotionally powerful, even though something happening afterward doesn't mean the vaccine caused it. Sometimes after gets mistaken for because of, and that small difference can keep a bad idea alive for decades. A lot of people treat astrology like a personality test written by the universe. You're stubborn because you're a Taurus. You overthink everything because you're a Virgo. And if your relationship fails, apparently Mercury was having a bad week. The problem is that astrology hasn't been shown to reliably predict personality or compatibility. So why can horoscopes feel weirdly accurate? One reason is something called the Barnum effect. Basically, people tend to accept vague, general statements as if they were written specifically for them. For example, you care about what others think, but sometimes you need time alone. That sounds personal, but it also describes almost everyone. Then confirmation bias does the rest. We remember the predictions that feel accurate and quietly forget the ones that completely miss. So maybe the stars aren't reading your personality. Maybe your brain is just really good at connecting the dots. Social media can make famous people feel weirdly personal. You watch the same creator every day. They tell you about their relationships, their problems, what they ate for breakfast, and sometimes they even call their audience family. After a while, it can feel like you actually know them. There's a name for this: a parasocial relationship. It's basically a one-sided connection where you know a lot about someone who probably has no idea you exist. That doesn't mean every celebrity, influencer, CEO, or politician is secretly evil or pretending to care. Some of them probably do care about their audience, but caring about millions of followers is not the same thing as having a personal relationship with each one. And that feeling of familiarity can make people trust recommendations, opinions, and even political messages more than they normally would. You may feel like they're your friend, but your friend usually knows your name. You've probably heard the phrase trickle-down economics. The basic idea is simple. Cut taxes for wealthy people and businesses. They'll invest more money, create more jobs, and eventually everyone else benefits too. And to be fair, tax cuts can encourage investment in some situations. But the problem is when people treat the whole thing like a guaranteed chain reaction. Give more money to the top, and somehow prosperity automatically flows down to everyone below. Real economies are a lot messier than that. Extra money can go into new businesses and jobs, but it can also go into savings, stocks, property, or simply make wealthy people even wealthier. and research on major tax cuts for high-income earners has often found much clearer effects on inequality than on long-term economic growth. So the dumb part isn't debating tax policy, that's complicated. The dumb part is pretending there's a magic button labeled "Make rich people richer" and everybody wins. Chiropractic is a weird one because it's not completely useless. Spinal manipulation can provide some short-term relief for certain types of lower back pain. The problem is when people start treating chiropractors like they can fix everything: headaches, allergies, digestion, immunity, even diseases that have basically nothing to do with your spine. That's where the evidence gets a lot weaker. A lot of chiropractic treatment is built around manipulating joints in the spine, usually with a quick controlled thrust. For back pain, that may help some people, but cracking your spine doesn't somehow reset your entire body. And neck manipulation deserves extra caution. Serious complications are rare, but cervical manipulation has been associated with tears in neck arteries that can lead to stroke. So chiropractic isn't necessarily fake, it's just often sold as something much bigger than the evidence actually supports. Your spine is important, it's just not a universal control panel for every problem in your body.